This is Walking Between Shadows. I'm your host, Ben Elliott, and my wife,
Karen Elliott.
Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. This episode begins now.
Hey everybody, I'm Karen Elliott, and this is Walking Between Shadows. As you can see, I am back in my house, and we are not in the studio today. We actually recorded yesterday, Ben and I did, to do this Emma Walker case, and we have to work on the sound a little bit. Everything's been kind of trial and error there, and we have to put up some more soundboards and get those trucks that are passing by that faded out. So I'm going to do this story today from my bedroom, and I hope that y'all will tune in. I hope that y'all like and subscribe and keep following. Sorry about the musical chairs we've been playing. I've been going here and there, but I want to be able to cover these the best I can with the most quality that I can. And I'll be able to bring that to you once we get to the studio, but hopefully today this will do until we can get these little issues worked out. So thank y'all for tuning in, and let's get started. Emma Jane Walker was a beautiful young girl born March 20th of 2000 in Knoxville, Tennessee. And she grew up on the outside of Knoxville in a small rural Christian town, very religious, kind of through that Bible Belt in Tennessee. Emma was loved by everyone that she met, and vice versa. She loved everyone she met. She was super sweet, down to earth. Girls at school would think that she was going to be stuck up and not want to have anything to do with them. And once they got to know Emma, they were like, no, she is so super cool and down to earth, and I want to be her friend. Emma wanted to become a neonatal nurse, so she wanted to work with premature and high-risk babies, and that already says a whole lot about Emma. She volunteered at an animal shelter, and she was into competitive dance and cheerleading. Emma entered Central High School in 2014 as a 14-year-old freshman. She tried out for the high school varsity cheerleading team and actually made it. She was the only freshman who did that year. Emma was a very good student, honor student, and did extremely well in school. Riley Gaul was 2 years older than Emma. He was a good student, very intelligent, into church, boy next door, handsome, and Emma developed a huge crush on Riley. Riley was actually seeing someone else at that time, and it wasn't long before he broke up with that girl, and him and Emma began to date. One thing about Riley is that he had already made plans with his ex to go to the junior prom. So even when he was with Emma, he already had promised this other girl that he would take her to the prom. So he did. So he took that girl his junior year. He took Emma his senior year. But this really kind of concerned Emma's parents. They thought that he wasn't prioritizing Emma and that he was going to hurt her. Emma and Riley soon were thought of as the perfect couple, the high school sweethearts, football player, cheerleader, both good looking, attractive couple, and everybody just thought they were the best. But Emma's friends started showing some concern because Riley would not let her hang out with them. And he didn't want to hang out with her friends with her either. Anytime they would go somewhere, Riley would start calling and texting just crazy. I mean, where are you at? What are you doing? He obviously did not trust Emma. And the perfect relationship became the not good at all toxic relationship. Emma's parents started showing some concern. And at first, Emma was very stubborn about this. And she did not listen to her parents. She thought she could make her mind up about this. Riley was the love of her life, and nobody was going to tell her any different. And we've all been there. We've all been those teenage girls or guys that thought that this was the love of our life, and that every little thing, the jealous things that they're doing, like texting or calling nonstop, and all those things we thought were love. That's what Emma was thinking too at this time. Emma and Riley got into this vicious cycle where they would fight and get really nasty with each other, break up, and then get back together. Everything would be really good for a couple days, and then it would go to shit again really, really quick. Emma's parents really wanted to try to diffuse the situation and break this whole relationship up. So they decided to ban Riley from their home and to take Emma's phone away from her in an effort to control the communication between the two. However, Riley had given Emma an iPhone Touch, and she was still communicating with Riley without her parents knowing, which is something y'all do that shit. I know y'all do that shit. After dating on and off for 2 years, Riley graduated from Central High School and began attending a Maryville college. And it was about 30 minutes from Emma. And it wasn't far enough to diffuse the situation between them because it was still going strong. And Emma decided to continue dating Riley even though he was off at college. This really fucking pissed Emma's parents off. I mean, they had pulled every string and stop they could with Emma. They took her phone. They grounded Riley from being there. I mean, this was, they did everything they could, but she was continuing to speak to this boy. I mean, over and over, she would find a way, and they always find a way. They always find a way. Emma soon was grounded from leaving her home because she wasn't listening. She was doing what she wanted to. That stubborn mind got her grounded. And after a while, they started noticing that their plan to take all these things away from Emma and her privileges away was working. And Emma was becoming her old self again. This is what they wanted. This is what they were shooting for this whole entire time. But then, things began to take another turn for the worse. Emma started noticing pictures on Riley's Snapchat of him and girls on his campus. And this fueled the fire. You remember how that is when you're a young teenager and you're breaking up and you see your ex with somebody else and you're like, oh, no, we're not doing all that shit. Not today. And that's what Emma said too. So it was right before Thanksgiving break of 2016, and Emma, after seeing those Snapchats with Riley and those girls in it, decided she was breaking up with Riley once and for all. She'd had enough. She knew she deserved better than this. And Emma's parents were like, we can breathe. Finally. There was a game on November the 18th. That was a Friday night at Central High School. They won this big game, and there was an after party afterwards. And Emma wanted to go. It was one of her friends' house. And since Riley and her had broken up, her parents said, okay, Emma, you can go to this party. So she's chilling at this party and having a good time, and she starts receiving these sketchy-ass texts from a number she doesn't know. And the texts are saying, like, I've got someone you love. If you don't want me to harm this person you love, meet me outside right now. Very fucking strange. And Emma's thinking this is probably like some shit from Riley and his friends, but I mean, okay. And I mean, this was weird. This is weird though. You're getting these sketchy ass texts. One of the last texts that she got before going outside said, he's in a ditch outside your house. It's a shame you can all of a sudden not value someone's life anymore. So Emma and her friend go outside to check out this situation and see what's going on. And they see this man laying out like in this ditch. And he's face down. And guess who that was? Can y'all guess? Riley. Of course it was Riley. And he don't know where he's at. And he's waking up and he's rubbing his head and he's confused. Where am I? Where am I? And Emma's thinking, this is horse shit. This is bullshit. And so Riley calls one of his friends to come pick him up, and he tells his friend, I got kidnapped and whacked over the head and dropped off at this house. It just so happened to be where Emma was at for a party. He didn't believe it either. So the next day comes along, and this is Saturday, the 19th of November, and Emma's at home, and she's getting ready to meet her mom somewhere. And she's home alone, and all of a sudden, someone starts banging on the door. What the fuck? Nobody likes that. So she goes to look, and she doesn't see anybody, but she does see somebody like out on the sidewalk that has all dressed in black. So Emma is scared, and she calls not her mom or not her dad. She texts Riley and says, I hate you, but I need you right now. So, of course, Riley shoots right on over to save the day. And they're talking out in the driveway. Emma's mama pulls up. And she sees Riley out there. And she said, oh, no, no, no. Ot, get on down. So Riley leaves without giving any issue or problem with that. And Sunday morning rolls along. And Sunday, Emma is very shaken up from the weekend. I mean, can you imagine? So she broke up with her boyfriend after seeing pictures of him and other girls on Snapchat. And then Friday night, she finally gets out of her house and ungrounded, and Riley gets kidnapped. Saturday, she's home alone, and somebody's trying to scare her then, beating on her door, and somebody walking by all dressed in black, and she was terrified. Sunday, like I said, she was very shaken up, and her parents were very concerned about her. She had to work that day, so her parents followed her to and from work so she would not be alone. And she gets home that night. Her and her dad go to Sonic and get some ice cream, and she's calming down. And it's bedtime. She goes to brush her teeth, puts on her pajamas, and tells her mom and dad goodnight, goes to bed. About 2:30 a.m., Emma's dad hears a banging noise twice, and it sounded like 2 doors slamming. So he gets up and he checks the house. He goes into Evan's room and everything's okay. He looks into Emma's room and she looks like she's asleep and everything's fine. So he goes back to bed. Monday morning, 6 a.m., parents are up. Emma's parents are up doing their normal routine. Emma's mom goes into Emma's room to wake her up. And this is something that's usually very easy to do. Emma was a morning person, woke up cheerful and ready to start the day. But this morning, Emma's mom could not wake her up. She bumped her leg. She hollered her name. Nothing. So she goes and looks at Emma's face and feels for her pulse and realizes that Emma is not alive and immediately calls 911.
What's going on there?
I'm just trying to wake up my daughter for school, and she has no pulse.
Stay on the line. I'm transferring you to Rural Metro.
Rural Metro, can you tell me what's going on? She's not responsive. She's gone. Okay, is she breathing? No. Her tongue's hanging out of her mouth. Is she laying on her back?
Paramedics show up very quickly, and they think at first that this is some form of suicide or overdose. So rumors at school start flying. I mean, you can imagine you've got this young popular, she was a junior that year, and something just happens out of nowhere. And this is when Riley starts posting on social media. So while Riley is posting all these Bible verses and how much he loves Emma and looking for sympathy posts is what I call it, detectives show up at Emma's home and they're looking at the crime scene. And while everyone's thinking this was a suicide or an overdose, they realize that there is a bullet hole, actually 2, through the wall of Emma's bedroom. And there was a bullet lodged in the pillow that Emma was sleeping on, and a bullet that lodged behind her ear. That's what killed Emma. Detectives immediately started asking friends and peers if anyone wanted to harm Emma, or if they knew of anyone that wanted to harm Emma, because whoever did this shot from the outside in to Emma's room. They knew where her bed was located. So they really wanted to figure out who had something against Emma and wanted to hurt her. And y'all can guess whose name just kept popping up. That's right, Riley. Detectives went and spoke to Riley at his dorm, and he denied any of this. He said he wasn't there. He was not present whatsoever. And at first, there was really no evidence pointing to Riley that he would be a suspect, until one of Riley's friends came forth and told detectives that Riley showed him a gun on Monday at school. And Riley told him that this was for protection after being kidnapped. He went and got into his grandparents' guns and stole his grandfather's gun, and that was completely for protection. But he did not tell the detectives that. When detectives asked Riley about this, he completely denied that he ever had anything to do with that. And another thing he did during a 2-hour interview with police is refuse to say Emma's name. He kept calling her that girl. Another thing Riley told detectives is that he was at Noah's house Sunday night. And when the detectives asked him if he had spent the night at Noah's house, he said, "I'm pretty sure I did, yeah." That's a strange answer, but that's what he told them. So he showed Alex the gun at school, and he showed Noah, or he told detectives he had stayed at Noah's house on Sunday night. Riley then continued to tell the police that on Sunday night he just had a breakdown. He had an emotional breakdown, and he drove to his grandparents' house and just kind of stayed there. He got there at 12:30 a.m., kind of stayed there for just a little while, maybe 45 minutes, left there, and drove back to his dorm and sat out in the parking lot looking at pictures of Emma and crying. So he had a complete breakdown that night. And like I said, the police were very concerned that he was so detached and unemotional about this whole situation. He was very suspicious. He was very suspicious at this point. And they let him leave there. And as soon as he gets out of the police department, he calls his friend Noah and Alex, both of them. And he's like, "Dude, why'd y'all rat me out to the police?" Like, he starts his lying bullshit some more. Another thing that Riley asked Noah as soon as he got out of the police station is if he knew how to get rid of fingerprints on a gun. And Noah's like an 18-year-old kid, 19, something like that. And he's like, "What the fuck, dude? No." And so him and Alex get to talking, and Alex is like, "Well, he showed me this gun." And then he goes to Alex, and he says, Riley goes to Alex, and he says, "Hey, dude, can you help me get rid of a gun?" Look, he's asking a whole damn lot of these. And he asked them not to talk to the police anymore either, because he's got to get rid of this gun. So he don't need them on his ass while he's trying to get rid of this gun. And so Noah and this other kid, Alex, decide to work with the police, and they're going to set him up. And they're fixing to figure out what's going on. He's been lying too damn much. They know he's lying, and they know he has something to do with this murder. So they decide to set him up. And they make plans to go over and hang out at Riley's house. And when they get there, they're just chilling, and they start talking about Emma. And Riley goes into talking about how he did not do this and how much he loved Emma. And I mean, everything, he just loves her so much, he could never do this. Why would anybody think this? But they are very suspicious. And little did Riley know, but Noah and Alex were both wired up. They also had cameras like in a key fob. So they had the cameras and all that. And Riley starts talking about how he wants to get rid of this gun that was his grandfather's, and he doesn't want to look suspicious, and he doesn't want to go to jail for something he didn't do. But having this gun that he needed for protection was going to make him look really suspicious, and he just needed to get rid of it. And so these guys are wired up, and they decide they're going to ride with him to go get this gun.
They would have automatically ruled out any kind of suicide, or I mean, not ruled it out, but like, if she would have got shot through the wall, you don't just get shot and die instantly unless you get hit in the throat or in the head. Yeah. Unless you got shot directly in the heart, but still even that, like, you're going to feel that, wake up and be able to try and like crawl out of your bed.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, I still don't understand how she died.
It's likely that no part of this discussion is medically accurate, but the undercover friends play along in an attempt to get more information from the suspect, and the speculation continues.
I don't either, but if she like truly got shot through the wall, then she would, like, say it hits her in the stomach. Say somebody shot her in the wall, hit her in the stomach. She's going to wake up You don't just get shot and lay there.
Yeah, I don't see how she wouldn't scream or something, like anything.
And she just laid.
Unless it was just like a ridiculous shot.
If it hit her in the head, then they would have saw that.
Well, yeah, but you don't know. You didn't see that though. They could have walked in and seen her just.
Well, they would have seen
Because it was a murder investigation from early that morning.
As far as I know,
Like they never thought. They always
don't know
thought it was
anything
awful.
about how she was found or when she was found.
Because
whenever you hear, exactly. Whatever
They always knew it was
whoever you
homicide.
hear it from could not be true.
They knew it was a homicide from the first second because they put in protective custody.
You serious?
Yeah.
The suspect is clearly alarmed by this information. The thought of a friend having been murdered would be quite devastating to hear. However, it's much more probable that the shock is from knowing that if her death was in fact a homicide, then law enforcement's main focus will be to locate the killer. Which brings us to our next important topic of conversation.
But I'm trusting you guys, like, with my life, because I mean, this is 70 years in jail if I get convicted of something I did do. And are you busy right now? Are you about to do anything? Well, can we go to Bluffs? Because I need to get rid of the Bluffs. I'm gonna have to throw it in the water. They'll never find it.
I've tried to get the water with like rocks.
Well, we did it with beer bottles.
Sure. We can go on the smaller ledge that really looks out of the water.
I mean, I got your back, man.
I just
Jesus Christ, dude, I got your back.
if it's in the Tennessee River, they will never find it. So that's why I just want to eliminate that from the equation as a whole.
I feel you. Cover your bases. Cover your bases. I mean, I feel you. That's your decision.
Well, do you guys want to go right now?
I'm fine. Let me grab a snack. You want a hot pocket?
I'm starving.
I'm so hungry.
I would love a hot pocket.
Cops are following them. Undercovers are following them. They stop first and at Riley's stepdad's, and they get this gun, and it's in his like bag, and then they go to this fast food restaurant and they eat, and they decide to go to the Tennessee River and they're gonna throw this in. They pull in the parking lot at the Tennessee River, and Riley puts on a pair of white gloves to get this gun out, and that's when they tell the cops, it's time, come on. Cops move in and they take Riley into custody. So Noah and Alex, these boys, these young kids, really helped out in getting Riley arrested. And Riley was convicted in Emma's murder and 6 other charges as well. They found evidence that linked him to this fake kidnapping and stalking, basically, Emma before her death. The defense team tried to say this was not murder, that Riley did not mean to kill Emma, which is surprising that they even admitted that he shot the gun. But there was too much evidence, too much proof. But they did say that he tried to shoot through the house to scare Emma so she would get back with him. And his many attempts he tried, this was a fatal one. The prosecution did not buy that bullshit. I mean, he knew where Emma's bed was located, had been in that home several times, and knew everything about that home and where Emma was sleeping that night. He did this purposefully. And I have refused to believe that he did this on an accident. And even if he did, what a douchebag he is. What a shithead. He was sentenced to 51 years before he is eligible for parole. And I think that is not even enough. I just don't think that's enough. But anyway, that is the case of Emma Walker. And if it makes you feel anything like me, I mean, I'm glad my children are older, but this could happen to anyone. This was a very adult relationship for such young kids, and it makes me wonder where he learned these things from. Where did Riley learn to treat women this way? Emma's parents were clearly trying to take care of this situation and get Riley out of Emma's life, and it just didn't work. And I hope this is a lesson to some of you young girls that if these boys are manipulating you and stalking you, this is not love. This is stalking. And I hate for something like this to happen. So thank y'all for watching. Maybe next week we will be back in the studio to do the podcast, and Ben will be with me, I hope. Fingers crossed, and thank y'all so much. See y'all next time.
But God, I wanna feel again. Oh God, I wanna feel again.
Thank you for watching this episode of Walking Between Shadows. Again, I'm your host, Ben Elliott, and my wife,
Taryn Elliott.
Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and look for new episodes coming soon.